side of the bracket, we have Twisted Metal 2 Axel coming up against the number 1 seed, Twisted Metal 4 Sweetooth. Now, there's one thing about this matchup I feel like I need to include right away, and that's this. I'm going to paste this in here as 5-star ram damage, because this dude is disgusting when it comes to beating on people. When it comes to this matchup, you're going to remember 2 sounds because I guarantee you as players they're already burned in your head. So beyond the Axel power and the clown laughing, let's just talk tier list first. Obviously Sweetooth's going to win. He's S tier. He's completely broken. So by default, he's pretty much going to have that 1 point over everybody else in the tournament. As far as the AI went and my thinking, let's just talk about this for a second, because the AI, man, it's just so tough for Sweetooth to lose. The AI said Sweetooth wins 8 out of 2, and I want to talk through my rationale on my decision making here, because I wanted to pick Axel. I think this is more of a 6-4 matchup, not an 8-2, where if Axel's capable of getting in there, ram damaging this guy, I think he's a big enough vehicle. He won't get lifted off the ground the way that some of the other opponents do when Sweetooth uses special. But regardless, it's tough to pick against Sweetooth right now. Sweetooth is going to move on. Thumper meets Twisted Metal 2 Minion in an epic clash. So from a tier list perspective, Minion is pretty much the tip of the iceberg of the Twisted Metal 2 tier list. Thumper holds his own. He's a very good card in that game. But clearly, it's going to be a Twisted Metal 2 tier list winner, Minion, that was going to come out on top. The AI in this matchup was more decisive in its decision making, giving this a 9-1 in favor of Minion. Basically, Minion's ability to shut down Thumper's offense from near or far gave it a nod, and I guess the special move was ultimately the biggest kind of decision making point. Thumper's is insane, but Minion has that armor to withstand it for a couple times, and also Minion has the special to keep him out from closing that gap. Personally, out of these Sweetooth 16 matchups, this is one of the more decisive wins that you could get. Minion is just a dominant force, and I think that there's a reason why he's advancing clear-cut winner here in this matchup. So I thought this would be a lot closer of a matchup, but it turns out it's really not. Primeval, in the AI's mind, gave it a 10-0 sweep in a best of 10. The tier list, of course, go in Primeval's favor because he would easily be the top vehicle in this game. And my personal opinion of this matchup is Outlaw is a good car. I think it has a solid special move, enough armor and stuff to kind of maneuver. But everything that it does, Primeval does like 2 or 3 stats better. And in a battle of nutrition, it just can't withstand that type of barrage from a heavy offensive, high armored vehicle like Primeval. Spot in the Vigilante 8 of this tournament, the best heavyweight matchup we may have had so far. Twisted Metal 4 Super Thumper versus Twisted Metal 3 Minion. I mean, these cars are about as even as it gets. Both are armored up. Both have incredible special moves. Let's talk through this and get to a winner. This is a matchup of 2 conflicting playstyles. Super Thumper, who wants to close the gap and use that 5-star special, and Minion, who uses the 5-star special to close the gap. Now, based off of like the tier listings and stuff, we'll just get that out of the way quick. These 2 cars are both in S tier. Minion by far is the best character option of the playable Twisted Metal 3 vehicles. No one really argues that. Super Thumper is a standard S tier vehicle of Twisted Metal 4 below Sweetooth. Now you could argue that him, Super Axel, Moonbuggy, maybe sometimes Calypso, there's a couple cars, but Super Thumper is always up there. Let's just negate that for now. When working with the AI, I was able to get it to spit out a couple of different scenarios, and the one that it went with the most was a 7-3 in favor of Minion. I think that when it looked at Super Thumper, it just didn't get confirmation on the stat output that the armor and the special weapon have, because technically you don't know as a player. I guesstimated these stats based off of my playtime with the vehicle. Minion is a really, really elite monster, though, so I understand why it picks Minion in that scenario. I want to talk about this, though, from my personal perspective of my take. I see Twist Metal 3 Minion slightly above 4, and he's a powerful, hard-to-kill vehicle. I just think because of the way he feels a little bit floaty in that game, that's the only kind of drawback I have as far as a matchup where a car that's grounded, low center of gravity, and realistically wants to get in close and do damage is sort of why I lean towards Thumper in this matchup. I think Thumper is capable of getting in. The tracking and stuff on Minion Twisted Metal 3's special isn't the best of the series. I think 2's is better. They might track similar with the freeze missing more for Twisted Metal 2 Minion, but in my opinion, I think this one has the worst tracking. I think that if Thumper is capable of getting inside, which he will be able to do enough damage to negate some of that controversial, unknown statisticals of this matchup. Let's get down to it. How do we rate this type of matchup? Well, obviously we know the AI is going with Minion. From a tier list in my personal perspective, I'm going with Super Thumper. I think he just has a little bit more in this matchup. He's a little bit more intimidating of a version of this boss. And Minion's not weak, but I think this is a type of matchup you would struggle in. From a tier list perspective, this is where it gets tricky, because both of these characters are considered S tier. They're both very high in that regard. And I just think, just when I look at a tier list perspective, unfortunately for the Thumper fans out there, Minion just gets the nod. He's always S tier. Thumper is always S tier, but he's not number 1 in that game, and I think that that's the definitive factor here.